So you want to kick off the first film?
Certainly. The first one tonight returns us to the skies above Berk, with Hiccup and Toothless leading the way. How to Train Your Dragon 2 picks up 5 years after the adventures of How to Train Your Dragon. With the same all-star cast returning, we have the voices of Jay Bruchal, America Ferrara, Gerard Butler, and many more. And now the Vikings have dragons of their own. Toothless and Hiccup take to the skies in search of new lands, and on one such journey they come across some dragon hunters. And in the escape, they find their way into the lair of a fellow dragon rider. Hiccup discovers that this person has created a haven for dragons and will do anything in their power to protect the dragons. But later, when the dreaded Drago Bloodfist makes an appearance, trying to take over all of the dragons, Hiccup, the dragon rider, and the Vikings come together to protect what is theirs. I was pleasantly surprised by this film. It is animated, of course, so visually, of course, it was going to be great with all the color and everything like that, but I just think that it was done really well, and despite it being animated, there was something really striking about seeing it on the big screen.
Did you see the first movie in this series?
I've seen the first one, but I don't believe that I saw it in theaters. I don't think that that's one that I took Dexter to, but definitely something I've seen. Like, I'm pretty sure they had it on Netflix, or I rented it from Redbox or something, because I know I've seen it. But that is one thing, is it had been so long that it did take me a few minutes of this movie of trying to remember. Because granted, it has been 5 years, so some of the things that they were referring to, I was trying to remember. Is this something from the first film that I've forgotten about, or is this something that's meant to have happened within those 5 years that we don't know about? So that was a little bit hard for me. It was just to kind of try and get back into that world, back into that element, and remember what the heck was going on. But it didn't take me away from it too much.
I have a general rule for certain situations, genres, all that kind of stuff. And my rule for sequels is, just because I haven't seen the first one doesn't mean I can't see the second one. Now, given I like to try to see the films in order and everything like that, but a good sequel and a good film could stand on its own and doesn't need the first one to do it. It can explain the first one. It can explain the world that we're in without having to take too much time to explain everything. And I think this film did a very good job of not dragging with trying to explain to everybody what happened before if you hadn't seen it. Even though it's blatantly, and again, you and I have discussed this film already a little bit, but the title, How to Train Your Dragon 2, is just awful. It's horrendous. It's almost demeaning to the film, because the film is actually very good, and the title, you wouldn't necessarily know that by the title. Some films have awful titles. There's a lot of films that have one-word titles that are kind of just generic or vague, and you just don't remember what it's about. You remember the film.
Do you
remember
have an
that
example?
Like something like Bound, which actually won awards. Yeah, exactly. It actually won awards and everything like that. It was a 90s
Therefore,
film.
that was a good example.
Exactly. So, I mean, you've got films that do this. There's no mistake. This isn't a case of identity crisis. You know what this film is by the title. But it's so uncool and so lame, and that's not what this movie is. Well,
if you had named it based after having seen it, if you were to choose a title, what would you call it?
I don't get paid for this, so I don't know.
Right, but you're saying you didn't like How to Train Your Dragon 2, so would you have called it something else? Like, blah, 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 How to Train Your Dragon 2. So it was kind of like a sub?
I don't know, Dragon Riders, or, something else. Something that pertains to the film still, but It doesn't necessarily have to harken back to that. Because if marketing is done correctly, you don't have to worry about sticking a 2 on there or whatever. If you show people, oh, look, it's the dragons. And these are very unique looking dragons. They don't necessarily look like dragons to me. A lot of them don't. Or the typical...
You mean the traditional dragon that...
The dragons that you see, like, I don't watch the show, but I'm guessing Game of Thrones, or like in the video game series Skyrim. the scaly, very hard looking wings, dragons, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a unique look to it. Nobody's gonna get it mistaken, but I don't want to harp on the title too much. It's just awful. It was one of the few pet peeves I had with this movie. Another one I had was the voices, because everybody has this Viking accent except for the kids, who all have regular,
They're regular
present day
American
accents
yeah.
like we have right now. And it kind of takes you out of it. You understand it because you have to kind of relate to the kids. That can be a turnoff if the kids hear.
But on the
Viking
other
accent.
hand, in the movie Brave, they used accents and it was still uber popular. Merida has her Scottish accent. Her parents do. You can still understand everything, so it's not like the accent is so thick that you're kind of squinting and tilting your head as if to say, huh?
Right.
So, I mean, I get both sides of it. I think that, like, I didn't even notice it. I mean, of course I noticed it, but it didn't really take me out of the element of the movie like it obviously did for you.
It did for me. Absolutely. Especially when you have everybody else in the film has some sort of accent except for these kids. Everybody. The bad guys, the good guys, the in-between guys, they all have this accent, and it's super annoying that these kids don't have an accent. I like the people.
You even likened the way they did speak to, like, surfer talk.
One of them, yeah, or two of them.
Dude.
Yeah, they have like a surfer accents, and it's just like, what? Why? What did that? That's just like that's an animation cliche, like
What
Finding
other
Nemo
animated
or
surfers
something
do
like
you
that.
know?
You know, it's kind of like they have to throw in a surfer accent. Or one character has to be like a laid back surfer dude, and so that really bothered me for some reason. I guess it's just I don't know, because I think again, when a film is so good and you see these little things that kind of take you out of it, it's kind of like, well, it could have been better.
Right.
If only they did this. I like the actors that were voicing the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You had Jonah Hill. You had you already named Jay Baruchel. You had what's his name?
Christopher
I think it's
Mintz-Plasse.
I was thinking of his name. God, I think his name is Tim Miller or something like that. He's HUD in Cloverfield, and he's in that show Silicon Valley, and a couple other things.
What voice did he do?
His name is T.J. Miller. He did Tough Nut.
I don't know. They had such weird names. That was probably, like, the biggest annoyance I had is, like, who the hell names their kid Hiccup?
I'm showing Tasha a picture right now. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I recognize him.
All right. So he's one of those guys that's kind of
He's kind of up and coming right
yeah,
now.
he's on the rise. So I like the voices that they had and everything. It was just the fact that doesn't match with the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Visuals are very much a strong point in this film, and you said, oh, it's animation, it's DreamWorks, they do a pretty good job with everything they do. But when everything was in a much larger scope, not so much in close-ups, but
But,
when
like,
you
flying.
saw the flying scenes, and I especially loved when we meet his mother for the first time. And
Spoiler!
yeah, well, and that's the thing. I'm going to put a thing at the beginning of this saying that this is spoilers, because we can't really talk about the films without
Right.
spoiling.
But yeah, so his mom is the mysterious dragon rider. He grew up believing that his mom had died. And then to find her, alive and well was kind of a shock for him.
But she wears this cool mask, and you don't know it's her. You don't know it's a woman at first. You just know it's this mysterious thing that's got this cool mask on and riding this different dragon. And just all those... I mean, they did an excellent job with atmosphere of the sky, with the clouds and
Yeah, that actually was
everything.
really impressive. Just, to be able to animate it to where if you didn't know any better, you'd think you were actually amongst real clouds.
Right. I mean, it looked real.
Mm-hmm.
And the dragons themselves, I'm not a huge fan because I'm more of a fan of traditional looking dragons, but they have these alphas in the film.
Those were pretty badass.
Which are huge. They certainly don't really look like dragons. They look more like
I didn't even know what to compare them to.
almost like mammoths in a way.
Eh.
You know, they're kind of slow. They were on all fours.
Yeah, I didn't even recall. Did they have wings? Because I don't think they ever took to the sky.
I don't remember. They were so big that they could have just been like, you know, standing tall or something like that. I know
But
that
like the size comparison, if you take a real world animal, like let's say an elephant, that was the alpha, and all the rest of the dragons were like cats and dogs in comparison size wise.
Yeah, pretty much.
The thing was massive.
Yeah, pretty much. And at one point, they referred to it as a Leviathan. And so that's what I thought we were going to get. I thought we were going to get other creatures than dragons, but it turns out these are dragons. They're just they're water. They're kind of water based, I guess.
Well, yeah, because rather than like shooting fire, they seem to shoot ice.
Yeah,
So
and
that
it
was pretty
freezes
interesting.
things, and yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, the visuals were pretty darn good, and you know, it's in animation. It's like that isn't necessarily a plus. It's just expected. If you have bad animation, it's gonna get pointed out. But if you have good animation, you say, "Oh, they did their job." Okay. But I think this film in particular,
And
with
also,
hair and stuff like that
considering
too.
that my understanding is that they pretty much started making this as soon as the first one came out and, you know, was received well.
Mhm.
And the first one was released in 2011. So, I mean, they spent 3 years working on this. So I think that definitely does show. And evidently they've already announced How to Train Your Dragon 3. So that'll be...
I don't think we're gonna get a change on the title, unfortunately.
Probably not. Not at this point in the game.
Right. So it's the next film's already got a minus on my report card there. What didn't you like about the film? Anything at all?
Well, you kind of caught me off guard there. There's nothing that instantly comes to mind that, oh, this was, you know, disappointing. I feel like they, you know, fed into a couple of cliches, but it's, you know, a kid film, so of course they're going to do that. But I don't think that it really took away too much from it. But there's really nothing off the top of my head that, you know, some other movies we'll be discussing, definitely. I have those things that are right there at the front of my mind ready to talk about, but nothing for this film.
I thought the attempt at jokes it all felt kind of contrived, and it felt pretty flat. I mean, I understand it's a kids film, and so you got to work within certain parameters, but I think they went for low-hanging fruit almost every single joke that they threw in there. Luckily,
See, I'm not
there
even
wasn't.
recalling any jokes.
Well, luckily there wasn't many
Okay.
in the film. It took a pretty serious tone all the way through, but there were some jokes that were just kind of like,
Meant to be
oh
comic
god,
relief.
okay.
Do you recall any of them? Because I'm
Not a
drawing blank.
fan, no. There was a lot of physical gags though, in the action scenes and stuff like that, and you know it's okay. It's not a huge minus or whatever because, like I said, they had so few, and you know that this is a kids film, so
And everything else makes up for it.
what may be funny to a kid may not be funny to me, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a big con, but I mean it felt kind of cookie cutter is what I said in my short review. That just like the jokes we had already seen in other films before, other animation films before. So, but I really enjoyed the film. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought, as far as animation films go, it was probably one of my more favorite animation films I've seen in the last 20 years or so.
But here is the question. Did you like it enough to now want to watch the first one so that you get, the other part of the story?
Not feverishly. Like, if it's on, or if it's on Netflix or whatever, I might go and watch it with our son.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just I don't have a huge desire to watch the first one. But I think that's also a testament to this film, that it
You
did
don't need to.
a good job of explaining everything and kind of, fast forwarding to. I haven't seen the first film, so I mean, I've seen a chunk of it, and I don't know exactly what it's about. I know that it's about basically the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, and getting dragons accepted into that village.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Pretty
felt
much sums it up.
I felt that this story was probably much better anyway.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of first film. I don't hate sequels at all. I think sequels are cool, because I think a lot of first films set up the second film. We get past characters and introducing them, and
You're
they're
able to
evolved to the
focus.
point where now we can focus on a story and everything like that. So, but I give it a 4 out of 5, which is tied with Jersey Boys for the highest rating I've given a film so far this year. And so it looks like this film will probably be on my top 5-10 list when we do that show at the end of the year.
I would agree with your rating.
4 out of 5.
Yeah. And I don't actually write out the reviews like you've been doing, so I honestly haven't kept written track of my ratings, but I'm thinking that's the highest one I've given so far.
Right, I think so. You gave Maleficent a 3.5, right?
Oh, I don't know, did I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
Oh.
We need to keep track of these.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, I have no complaints really about this. I felt that it was really good. Well, I guess you could call it a complaint that I mentioned right at the beginning, is that I spent a few minutes in the beginning of the film just trying to remember what was going on. But, that was just more my personal issue that I have. It was really nothing about the film itself. So, yeah, I liked it. I definitely recommend it. The kiddo even liked it for the most part. He actually watched it. So, and I think that is part of the issue with me having seen it, is I did take our son, who, 4, almost 5, so he's kind of restless and tired, and Mom, what's going on? What are they doing? Like, shh, just watch and you'll find out. But what are they talking about? Well, I don't know, I can't hear. So that didn't help, but I still enjoyed it.